I'm sure you've heard the term feel the fear and do it anyway. There's a whole book written about it. So, does it actually work? This is what I'm going to be talking about today. Hi, I'm Hattie Voelcker from Find Your True Voice, and welcome to the Courageous Performer podcast, a podcast designed to help you feel comfortable and confident in front of any audience. So what does feel the fear and do it anyway actually mean? Because what I discover is that most of my clients, when they hear that phrase, what it means to them is feel the fear, ignore the fear, and do it anyway. Just push on through. Now, in some circumstances, that can actually work because you can feel the fear, do it, and go, actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And suddenly the fear dissipates. However, I spent 10 years as a barrister feeling the fear, doing it anyway, and it never disappeared. Partly because I was always upping the ante. I was always going the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. This is the case I'm on now. The next case I'm on is a more challenging case. And partly because I never dealt with the reason I felt so afraid. What I like to do with fear is actually start to acknowledge it, because people can be terrified of acknowledging their fear. I mean, are you terrified of acknowledging your deepest, darkest fears? I think the reason we're so terrified is we think that if we acknowledge it, it will become overwhelming and it'll become more real. The irony is that often as not, you might be predicting that your worst fear is going to happen anyway. You might be one of those people that call themselves a realist and actually is a pessimist. I'm never going to get the job. And that's because you think, well, if I can prepare for it, if I prepare for the worst, then anything else feels better. What I'm talking about is somewhere between the two. So let me give an example. The other day I was going for a meeting with somebody and I had sort of a complaint to make to them or some feedback to make to them. And I was like, well, what is the worst that could happen? Because I sent them an email and they said, right, let's meet up and talk about it. And I felt a little nervous about it. And I could have just felt the fear and done it anyway. And I'm sure in this circumstance, it would have been absolutely fine. However, what I did do was go, right, what is my worst fear? And I said my worst fear out loud. I said, my worst fear is that they no longer want me involved in this project. Because of the feedback I've given, they go, actually, do you know what? Or maybe they were thinking that anyway, which was why I was getting the feeling I was getting. But that was my worst fear. And I was like, right, so if that happens, what do I do? Because if you're prepared for what you might consider the worst case scenario, then everything else is better. And even if the worst case scenario happens, you know you'll be okay. Because sometimes, but rarely, does it result in anyone dying. And so when I went, right, this is the worst case scenario, you can then go, well, but what's the best case scenario? What's the reason I'm actually wanting to have this conversation as opposed to just quitting? Because something really good could come out of it. And it's not until you start acknowledging your fear, I think, that you can give yourself space for the possibility of the good thing to come out of it and really go, right, although this bad thing can happen, this good thing can happen. Because what I've realized is a lot of the energy that the performers I work with put in is to hold that fear at bay. If you know you're afraid, but you don't actually acknowledge that fear and give it space, then you're spending a lot of effort pushing that fear away, which creates tension in your body. It creates a lot of mental tension and mental clutter. If, however, you go, what is my worst fear? You give your subconscious and body a chance to process that. And you will find that at the end of it, when you've talked it through with yourself, even if not with somebody else, even better. But even if you just talk it through with yourself, you'll have come to terms with it on a much greater, deeper level. What is my worst fear when I'm going in for this audition? That I'm going to completely mess it up and they're going to think I'm an idiot, and then word is going to get round the industry that I'm no good. What is my worst fear when I do this presentation? That the people in the room are going to think I'm an idiot and I'm actually going to get the sack because I'm useless. Okay, when you say it out loud, when you say your shitty story out loud, sometimes you can then go, well, hold on, how likely is that to happen? And instead of it being something you keep at bay that sort of builds as this murky monster, you can go, well, that could happen. But the chances of that happening, maybe 20% and 80% chance that it's all going to be fine. So I had a strong opinion about Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And then I read the book because I thought I can't have a strong opinion. It's not fair for me to have a strong opinion without actually reading the book. And when I read the book, I agree with 80% of what she talks about. And it's a brilliant book. And I think there's loads of juice in there. The thing I would disagree with is that thing of just going for it. Because sometimes it works. But if you've tried that and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean all hope is lost. Because I was talking with somebody the other day. Your assumptions about it, and when I say it, I mean whatever activity you're about to do, are just the assumptions you hold about what might happen, what might go wrong. And that's just a bunch of neural pathways. And you can change those neural pathways little by little. And when you start to analyze the fear, when you start to really turn around, face it and go, right, all right, fear, what are you trying to tell me? You'll find that it reduces, and you actually build the skills and find tools for processing it and dealing with it, not so that you're putting it to one side, but actually you realize it's reduced. And although you're a little bit nervous, you know that this is worth it because the benefits far outweigh the detriment. And you feel, right, this is the detriment, but these are the benefits. And I am now actively choosing to do this. So in answer to the question, do I believe and feel the fear and do it anyway? Yes, as long as you feel the fear, not just know the fear is there and do it anyway, but actually sit and feel the fear. A really interesting thing happened in the group session I do for my Courageous Club for performers, which is my little membership. And someone came and she was really tired. She'd had a busy day. And she wanted to perform because that's what they do. They can perform in the space, and I coach them as they perform. And to start off with, I could see she was fighting that tiredness. So I rather cheekily said, well, what about we just lean into it? And for the sake of this song, we pretend that you're a really tired person singing the song. And it was phenomenal. When that battle left, when she stopped fighting the fatigue, her voice opened up, the line to the song came, and she then said she felt more energized because she was using a lot of energy to pretend she wasn't tired. In the same way, feeling the fear is different to fighting the fear. And I think what a lot of people interpret feel the fear as is fight the fear, fight it away, fight against it, because otherwise it will overwhelm you. I would say feel the fear and do it because you choose to do it, because you want the benefits of doing it. And you will find that that will ease your nerves and help you relax into it and let go of this massive fear. And you will find it will lessen and lessen and lessen. So I hope that's really given you a tool that you can go away and use. So when you next have something, whatever it is, whether it's a performance or something in real life that you feel really anxious about, acknowledge, I feel really anxious about it. What is my worst fear? What is the worst case scenario? What is the best case scenario? And then ask yourself that really scary question. Do I still want to do it? Because you'll be surprised how often you go, yeah, hell yeah, I wanted to carry on and do this. And then you can go on and do it with so much more joy and enthusiasm. And you will then connect with your audience better if you are connecting with an audience. So I hope that's been of use. I'm Hattie Voelcker from Find Your True Voice. I'm a real person. And so if you feel that you want help with your performing, then ping me an email at hattie@findyourtruevoice, and I will reply personally and usually pretty quickly. Tell me your story and we'll see if we can find a way forward for you. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.